Idris, would you like to prove to us that Jesus was a Muslim, my friend?
Okay, I'll try. Okay, well, all right. So first, I think we have to get the mutual agreement on what a Muslim is.
Very good. That's a good place to start.
So, what do you think a Muslim is?
You don't want to know what I think a Muslim is, but I'm willing to go with whatever you say a Muslim is. You do not want to know what I think what a Muslim is.
Okay, I don't mind. You could say it.
Sure?
Yes, sir.
According to the Quran, a Muslim is whoever submits with no resistance to Muhammad. Chapter 4, verse 65.
Can you show me?
Yeah, chapter 4, verse 65. It says they have no faith unless they make you judge in all of their disputes and find in your decisions no resistance and find themselves in full submission.
Oh,
So that you have to fully submit to Muhammad with no resistance in order to have faith.
oh, no. Can you show me on the screen?
Yeah, that's I just quoted to you. Chapter 4, verse 65. I'll read it verbatim.
I want to see
Hey,
it on the screen.
Yeah, hey, Idris, can you mute yourself when you're not speaking? It's a lot of background noise. Your gain is up really high.
Okay.
Thanks.
Let me just go ahead and turn my screen around. They asked me what a Muslim is, man. I use the Quran to define what a Muslim is. I told you don't want to know what I say, man. All right, let me turn this camera around, man. Let me turn this around. Flip the camera. Chapter 4, verse 65. You feel me? All right. Chapter 4, verse 65. But know by your Lord, they can have no faith until they make you, in parentheses, O Muhammad, judge in all disputes between them and find in themselves no resistance against your decisions, Muhammad's decisions, not Allah's, and accept with full submission. So in order for you to have faith, who do you have to fully submit to? Muhammad subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's what it means to be a Muslim according to your book.
Okay.
Do you agree?
So what do you say it mean? What do you say it mean?
A Muslim is one who fully submits to Muhammad with no resistance.
Submit what?
Submit themselves. Submit themselves.
Okay. So who was okay? I'll have to ask our next question based on that document you present.
Okay.
So who was Muhammad?
According to this, he is the ruler and judge over the Muslims. In chapter 39, verse 53, as our sister has pointed out earlier in a beautiful video, Shadow pointed out in a beautiful video, that you are slaves of Muhammad.
Okay, can you show me?
So whenever Allah says say, whenever it says say in the Quran, that's him saying, telling Muhammad what to say, right? So he says, say. So this is now what Muhammad's saying. Oh, my slaves who have transgressed against themselves. All right. Despair not of the mercy of Allah. So notice how this is not Allah talking, but this is Muhammad talking, telling them not to despair in the mercy of Allah. Verily, Allah forgives all sins. Truly, he is oft forgiving, most merciful. So Muhammad's talking about Allah here. But Muhammad says, whoops, what'd I do? Muhammad says that you are his slaves. So he is your judge, your ruler, your master, who you have to fully submit to with no resistance.
Okay, I'm not clear on this because I think I disagree. I think I disagree with what you say, that anytime you see say in the Quran, it refers to Muhammad is speaking.
Really?
I disagree, yes.
So is there an example where, go ahead, John.
Oh, I just want to show a parallel to this in chapter 17, verse 53. So you'll see here that this is saying, say, oh, my slaves, oh, my servants, oh, my worshipers. And then look at what this one says in chapter 17, verse 53. In chapter 17, verse 53, it says, say to my slaves, to my work. So this one changes it. So this one, they're the slaves of Allah, but the other one, they're the slaves of Muhammad, because he's addressing them as my slaves. So you have, as a Muslim, you need to submit as a servant, as a slave, as a worshiper to both Allah and to Muhammad. So between those two passages, you're stuck with being a slave to Muhammad and to Allah, which is what a Muslim.
You see, according to what I know, that the interpretation of this document that you are presenting is that you say, and anytime you see say in the Quran, it means that Muhammad is speaking, which is not true. So before we move on,
Who's
I
being
guess
addressed then?
before we move on, I guess we have to come to a mutual agreement on this before we can move on.
Okay, so who's being addressed?
No Case, you got mute up. Okay.
Yeah. Idris, who is being addressed when it says say? Because both of these verses say, but one of them says say to my slaves, and the other one says say, oh, my slaves. So either way, you're stuck, but you got to answer the question: who's being addressed by this command?
Okay, let's take one at a time. So this one, it appears to be the slaves are being addressed by the Almighty Himself.
When it says say, this is a command. Who is being commanded to say this?
So Allah is speaking, and He is speaking to His slaves. This is
And
what
say,
this is what I get from the document you presented.
No, who is he talking to? When he tells
right.
the person to say, who's the person that he's saying to say this? Yeah, sure. Yeah, that was another verse. That was 465.
So, but
Yeah,
this is easy. Okay, so we'll show a commentary, and it's gonna say, and then it's gonna say this is the command to Muhammad, and so Muhammad is commanded to say the following words. So once we show that to you, okay, we have it right here on the screen. Being addressed, and this is not really a point that Muslims dispute. Whenever there's a dispute, whenever there's a command where it says say in the Quran, or when someone's being addressed in a singular form, it's always Muhammad being addressed. So, Idris, do you take objection? Do you object to that?
Yes, because it's not true. Anytime you see say, it is referring to Muhammad all the time. That is not true, because it's clearly there. Many times it have other prophets that Allah was talking about, and many times he was quoting exactly what those prophets were saying.
Oh yeah, but
So
can you
it doesn't
show
refer
us an
exactly
example?
to.
Idris, can you show us an example where it's when he says say this, and it's not talking about Muhammad?
Okay, you could go to chapter 112.
Okay.
He's
I'm
going with this,
no.
but if you look at the commentaries, it's Muhammad's command to say this to who? He's command to say this to the Jews. He's command to say this to the polytheists. They're asking him who his God is, and so the response to that is say he is Allah, one of, and it goes on and goes on. So it's Muhammad being commanded to say this to the Jews, to the polytheists who are challenging him on who his God is,
So look,
and it even has it there in
he says
in parentheses.
parentheses.
Yeah.
Say, oh Muhammad. That's in parentheses though, but you know.
And the reason why they put it in there is because that's how it's understood. Whenever there's a command, say, or someone's addressing the singular as a command, that it's referring to Muhammad. That's how Muslim scholars understand it. That's why in the translation, like in this translation right here.
Okay, so this is let's get on the same page, okay? So here you said Allah is commanding Muhammad to say a certain statement. Yes?
Yeah.
Very good. So Muhammad is not saying that statement on his account. Yes or no?
So when he says say, everything that follows after say, that's what he's commanded to say.
Very good. So you
Okay.
said that he is commanded to say. He is not saying that on his own account.
Okay, no, we're not even disputing that right now. What we're saying is Muhammad is the one being commanded to say, my slaves. So it's Muhammad saying, my slaves.
Okay, yes, Muhammad is commanded to say that verse, but does it refer to Muhammad's slaves? It does
Yes,
not refer
because
to
of the other
Muhammad's
verse.
slaves.
Because we gave you two passages with a very similar construction in terms of language. One of the passages says, say to my slaves, and the other one says, say, oh, my slaves. So the one that says, say, oh, my slaves, Muhammad is commanded to address the people as his slaves.
Okay, again. Let's get on a mutual agreement again. Muhammad is being commanded to speak to the slaves of Allah and tell them what he said.
To slaves,
Or no?
to Muhammad's slaves.
No. Let's go again. Muhammad is being commanded by Allah to speak to Allah's slaves and tell them what he said.
No, that's here. Here he's being commanded to speak to Allah's slaves and say to my slaves, right? Say to my slaves. Here in this verse, it's not say to my slaves, it's say, oh my slaves, like the Muhammad is now speaking, oh my slaves. Right? So Muhammad is addressing his slaves who transgressed.
Okay, very good. So now this verse, this document that you presented to me here is telling me that Allah is addressing his slaves directly.
No, it's not.
No.
Because you have Muhammad is speaking.
Let's give an example.
Of course, it's Muhammad that's speaking. Of course, it's he
Hold on.
that's speaking. Do you know the style of how the Quran was revealed?
Idris,
Hey.
we're showing you two different passages, and so and one of them is addressing Allah's slaves and saying, "Say to my slaves X Y Z," and then the other one is saying, "Say, oh my slaves X Y Z." So it'd be like this: if I said to you, if I say, "Hey, say," I'm telling you, "Hey, say," say my friends, whatever, whatever. So now you're gonna say my friends, whatever, whatever. But if I say to my friends, whatever, whatever, then you'll say, okay, to his friends, whatever, whatever. There's a difference when you say to my slaves and then saying, oh, my slaves. Because
Right.
when you say, oh, my slaves, that's going back to Muhammad. He's the one that's speaking now, and these are his slaves.
Right. Danny, you wanted to say something, brother?
Okay. So one more time. Did Allah speak to his servants directly? Yes or no?
We're just
One-
repeating
one
at this
second.
point.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I have to go, brothers. Salam alaikum to the brothers and sisters. I'm getting a little dizzy. This guy's gonna put me to bed, so I'll catch the rest on YouTube. God
See,
bless
brother.
you guys. God
Yeah,
bless.
so let's do this.
God bless,
then.
Danny.
Let's God bless you, Danny. Let's take this another direction because remember I said, Idris, that you're not gonna like what I tell you what a Muslim means. You're not gonna like it. So I was willing to go with whatever you define a Muslim as. So if you disagree with the Quran on what a Muslim is, that's fine. Can you then give me your definition of what a Muslim is, and then let's see if Jesus fits that criteria. Is it just me or is the sound off?
No, his
So in its entirety
he's back.
to Allah.
Idris, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So what did you say a Muslim is?
It sounds like he's got some sort of audio lag.
Yes, sir.
Right.
So a Muslim is that person who submits his will to Allah. Done deal.
To Allah, done deal. Okay, so that's nice. So you believe that Jesus submitted his will to Allah, and Allah doesn't have any sons, has no daughters, no children. He doesn't beget. He's absolutely singular in his essence. No one is equal or in partnership with him. Correct? That's who Allah is, right? Is that correct? That's who Allah is?